we got the car customization shop for the engine block. I almost said spoilers. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Rishraff, and today we got the car customization shop for the engine block. I almost said spoilers. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Alright, so now we are back into the video. Here's what it's going to look like. So this is a really easy way to customize the engine block. I'm also going to make a spoiler one as well for the people who wanted the spoiler. So without further ado, we can get right into it with starting with a GUI. Now, as you saw in the clip, it's just going to be a very simple GUI. We're going to call this capital C customize UI, and then we're just going to go ahead and just insert a text button. Nothing fancy at all, and I'm not going to skip through this because there's a lot of people on the channel who don't really know how to do this because the channel, you know, like I say, it's for all ages, you know what I mean? Alright, so then we'll add option 2. Alright, if you don't know what I just did, this first button is for option 1, and the second button is for option 2. Now, you can have 3, 4, 5. You can have a scroll frame. It doesn't matter. You can have 10, 30, 40 options. It doesn't matter. Next, we're going to need a back button or an exit button. I'm just going to bring it down, and we'll just name this exit. And you can take a look at my hierarchy here inside of the Explorer. Now, the names, I mean, they kind of do matter. You just have to know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing about it, just use my names as reference if you're going to copy the script. Now, for button, we'll just say block 1. For the text, we'll just make it scaled. And then for the second one, we'll say block 2. If you guys don't know what an engine block is, you'll notice them in the hot rods. They're like that big block in the middle of the vehicle. It is used to describe it's used for performance and for show. So now that we have this UI, now that we have the UI, we can go ahead and code it. So go ahead and insert a local script, and then go ahead and insert an object value. I do apologize for any computer fans in the back. Yeah, I'm trying to work on that. And make sure you guys go and hit Limitless Gamer in the description. That's my website. Really helps me a lot, guys. Really appreciate it if you would just make a purchase or share it around. Alright, so we're going to say local event. This one we're going to use an event. So we're going to say remote event. So in doing so, we need to actually get a remote event. We'll insert a remote event. I'm not going to change the name. We'll be inserting another one shortly, though. We will actually insert that now. We'll duplicate this, and we'll just name it UI event, just like that. I wouldn't normally spell it like that, but for the purpose of this video, this is how we're going to do it. And this should all autocomplete. I noticed that there's a lot of beginners watching the channel, and there's nothing wrong with that. So it doesn't matter. We'll have some beginner content, and we're going to go and fire server, and we're going to say script.parent.car. Oops. Value. Then we'll say block 1. So what I just did here was when you click, so we're going to say script.parent.option 1, and you can notice that script right here, and customize UI is the parent. We're going to say option 1 using the built-in mouse button 1 click. When we click this, we're going to fire this event across our server, and we're going to say script.parent.car.value. You'll notice if you look at the car's value right here in my properties, there is no value. We will set that when we give the player the UI. Then what we're going to do is just copy this and just paste it. Now, I wouldn't do this if you were using like 4 or 5 buttons. I mean, I would just use a for loop and rename everything. But I mean, that's your guys' call. So what I just did here was I changed this to option 2 and I changed this to block 2. Next, you're going to do another event. We're going to say local UI event. I'm going to change the spelling there. We're going to say game replicated storage. We'll say wait for child. I always like to use wait for child, and that's only when I'm talking about events primarily, because you always want to wait for the event, because those are always registered last because they're so important in your game. And you would think that, they're registered first, but they're really not. So those may take a while, and they just have to replicate across the server. Next thing we're going to say is UI event fire server. Now, this can be made up into, I think, 3 scripts, very short. So we're done with this local script. This is just to exit out of the UI, and this is just to use the 2 options here. So I'm going to go ahead and comment that. We'll say block 1, block 2. And you're probably like, Rishraff, why do you have these right here? These are called, these go into something called parameters, but these are called arguments. These are going to get sent across the server to another script, and we can find that script in our server script service by inserting a script called event handler. Now, I'm just naming this whatever. Inside of it, what we'll do is we'll say local event equals game.replicated storage. If you're watching the video, guys, if you're signed into a Google account, most of you should have a Google account. Just go ahead and leave a comment. You don't have to be subscribed to leave a comment. If you're using this for your game, you could just leave a little thumbs up, you know what I mean? And we're going to say type to change. Alrighty. Now, as you saw, what we're going to do is we're going to connect this local script, and we're going to fire it across the server. Why do we have to fire it across the server? Because this is local. If you guys don't know what local and server side is, go ahead and check out my nil-to-mil series. And we're going to fire this. Now, why are there only 2 parameters here, or arguments? Well, because PLR, which is player, automatically gets sent through. So you have to have 3. It may be confusing at first, but once you actually understand it, so you have 2 arguments when you have 3 parameters here, because PLR, which is player, is not included. Let's go ahead and do this. We're going to say vehicle. We need to send the vehicle through. So we're going to say body. And then we're going to say blocks.block1. And you're like, whoa, Rishraff, where are you getting this information from? I don't know if I'm going to spell transparency right. All right, yes, I did. So what we're going to do is, you're like, yo, what is vehicle.body? I don't understand, Rishraff. What's going on? So I'm going to go ahead and just move this UI to the server storage. We're going to focus on that later. Let's go to the toolbox. Let's search up car, right? Just a car. All right. And you already know I like to use the Lambo. Now, you already know I like to, let's search up a car. All right, you already know I like to use the Lamborghini. Now, why do I like to use the Lamborghini? Because this is just a great example of a properly tuned A chassis, which I really do like. You really cannot go wrong with it. There's no viruses in here. I did not make this model. I'm not endorsed by the creator nor Lamborghini, in which I wish I was endorsed by Lamborghini, but hey, we'll talk about that some other time. Anyway, so you'll see that you have the body in here, and then you'll notice how you do not have blocks. We need to add those. So no problem. We'll add them as soon as we're done with this script. We're going to say vehicle, and this should auto-complete because it checks the parameter. We're going to say blocks.transparency. Oops, block2.transparency equals 1. Now, I would normally not do this. I would use a for loop. I will go over for loops later in nil-to-mil. But basically, what we're doing is just changing the block itself. I will review the whole entire system later at the end of the video so you guys properly do understand. And I like to just go ahead and just copy this line. I know it's kind of cheating, but it's all good. And then we'll say can collide equals false. If you guys are following along and you guys like, yo, what is this Rishraff man doing? I will explain everything. Don't worry. All right, now let's say... Now, what we're doing here is we're resetting everything. Reset. So if you guys have 3 blocks to choose from, what you'll have to do is you'll have to say vehicle.body.blocks.block3 or use a for loop for all the blocks in blocks. I mean, you'll have to figure that out. In which you'll have to reset all these values. So we'll hide all of the current blocks. When I say blocks, I hope you guys know I'm talking about the engine blocks that are currently visible in the Lamborghini, in which who would put a Lamborghini engine block in there because the engine's actually in the back. Someone pointed that out in the comment, and I was like, wow, you got me there. Now I'll say vehicle.body.blocks. Now this is where it gets a little interesting. This is where that other argument right here comes in, and we're going to take the type to change right here. That should autocomplete. We'll say transparency. Can I like not type today? Vehicle.body.blocks. Find first child. Type to change. I wish I didn't use type to change because like the type can be a little confusing. Equals true. Now let me go ahead and introduce to you guys what's going to happen. I know there's a lot of explanations going on, but if you just like watch the video multiple times, I guarantee you, you will be able to understand everything that I'm doing. For example, your player will click the option 1 button. That's for the block number 1. When they click it, we're going to send it to our game saying, okay, this car with this option selected, kind of like you're ordering, you know what I mean? Like at the drive-thru. This car gets this selection. Now, this is going to be executed here. This car gets this selection. So say vehicle, which is this car, it's doing its stuff, it's resetting. We'll say this car, the body, and then find the blocks, and then we're going to find the block that they want. That's where the type to change comes. So if it's block 1, it's going to find block 1, and it's going to make it visible, and we can collide with it. And then let's go and wrap this function in. We'll say event.onServer event connect change block. And you'll be like, yo, so what about that UI after we're done? We'll say, well, we'll go ahead and, okay, I'm going to go ahead and cheat just a little bit by copying this. I mean, I try to save time, you know, wherever you can. And I'll say local function UI change. We'll say PLR. That has to be included. You don't have to, but I do. Player GUI, find first child, customize UI. Change this with the UI name. Use customize UI. That's what I recommend. All right. What we just did was when you click exit, now this is what this line is for. When you click the UI or exit button, whatever, you're going to fire this. Boom. It's going to go across the server. It's going to go right into the script, and when you try to exit, it's going to destroy the customized UI. So that way it can literally exit you out of the UI. So now we're all set for the UI, and now we're all set for changing the car. Now we just need to do is add some blocks to it. So I'm going to add 2, for example. So let's go ahead and insert a part. We can do that at the top of the home page just by clicking part. Now this is going to be a little complicated. I'm going to go ahead and name this block 1 right off the bat. I'm going to change the color to red, okay? So we'll do red, and then we'll put it right in there, and then we'll just change the scaling to like something like that, okay? Next thing we'll do is we'll just add another part. I would just duplicate it, but so you guys can see, we'll add the second block. Remember, you guys have to do this by yourself. I mean, if you guys want the options and stuff, you're going to have to put like a 3rd block, 4th block, whatever. And we'll put this block a little bit farther out. Actually, we can put this a little bit farther out. We can change this color to a baby blue, right? That looks nice. Now you're going to take both of these. You're going to highlight both of them. And you're going to make sure anchored is on, can collide is off, and transparency is 1. This is going to make them invisible. Then go ahead and drag these into the car. Yeah, go ahead and drag them into the body panel. And then with them two selected or however many options you want, double click and press group. Now this should make a model and we'll call this blocks. And then boom, you have your 1 and 2. If you guys are like, whoa, he's moving too fast. You know, you guys seen that sound? I'm glad you guys have, because I haven't. But the thing is, though, you want to make sure blocks is a child of body, and you want these two options to be in there, or however many options you want. Now, when we're changing, we'll say the vehicle, we'll say our car that we have, we'll say the body, we'll find the body, and then we'll find something called blocks, and then we'll change the actual block that we want. Remember, you're going to need more than 4 lines of these if you want to change. If you're using 3, 4, 5, anything more than 2. I do apologize if you can hear my background noise. I understand. I'm very sorry. Lastly, all we're going to want to do is be able to give the player the UI. So we already have the UI down. We have the event handler, and we have the event pusher from the UI. I mean, the fire server thingy. Honestly, for somebody who knows everything about this stuff, well, I don't know everything, but for someone who knows a lot, I sure as heck can't remember the names. Now we're going to need like a little sensor part. So we'll need a little part here. We can just name this sensor, and then we'll insert a script. Great. Now I'm going to go ahead and call this a give UI. Script name doesn't matter, but before I do that, I don't want to forget that I have to make this just fairly large and make this anchored, and can collide is off. That's something you really need for this, otherwise it's not going to work. Then what you're going to do is, this is only like 9 lines of code, guys, so just watch this. We're going to say script. Make sure you guys move that customize UI into the sensor part, and then as a child of give UI, not just of it, but as a child of the script. So this is what it should look like. It should look like local UI equals script.custom, or whatever your GUI name is, but I'm using customize UI. This should autocomplete. If it's not, then it's not going to work. Or say script.parent.touched, built-in Roblox function. Or say connect, you know, how we always do the touch function. Say if hit.parent find first child drive seat. Now we normally do not use the drive seat. We always use the humanoid. So I was talking to this guy in my server. I don't know if you guys are in my Discord server, but go ahead and hit the Discord link below. And we're going to say if hit.parent. So you need your parameter here, or your condition, and we're going to say if and. Or you can use the word or, but not in this instance. You don't want to do that. We'll say and not game.players. So if we do have a vehicle touching this, and we do obviously have a drive seat, and we'll say game.players get player from character, and we'll say hit.parent find first child drive seat. So we'll say this long piece of code is just a consolidated piece of code just saying, yo, if this player does not have this UI, then go ahead and give them it. That's in really simple terms. Then we'll do .occupant.parent. Now make sure you guys get your parentheses right here. Let me zoom in right here. This is what the parentheses look like for this. There's an uncopy locked place in the description, but I highly advise that you guys are following along. I noticed a lot of people take the place in the description and then they hit me up and they're like, yo, it's not working. Well, because honestly, sometimes if you mess with it and you don't know what you're doing, then it's not going to work. And then we'll add then at the end. I don't like how I made this all one line, but you guys can see it here. If you guys don't see it, just rewind the video here. I'll show you what it looks like. Game.players get hit from parent. We'll find the player sitting inside of the vehicle, and then if they do not have, and you'll notice how it says find first child. So it's like, oh, we got to find it. Yes, but we have the not. So if they basically do not have it, and then auto end. And then after that, it's really, you're just golden here. So local A equals UI clone. I just put A already as a variable, but you can put any other thing. Is where the video just cut out. I opened up the place once again. I didn't save anything after that. My computer The result of it was that my computer was unable to render the rest of it because I'm on that potato PC. But what you're going to basically do is local a equals UI clone. A.car.value is the UI. So it's going to be in here in the script right here in the sensor. And what we're saying is the A is the customized GUI dot car, and then the value of car is going to become the vehicle, which is hit.parent. So that way we can render that and send that across the game. And then we'll do a.parent, so the UI is parent, equals game.players, get player from character, hit.parent, find first child, drive seat.occupant.parent.player GUI. And you're like, whoa, why did you say those random words? Well, let me go over it. Game.players, get player from character, hit.parent, find first child, drive seat.occupant.parent. So this is all one thing. So inside these parentheses, we need to find the thing. And then we're going to get player from character. Sorry for any background noise. I kind of had to make this the rest of the video up on the spot. So we're going to get the driver. Basically, we're just going to get the driver of the vehicle, and then their player GUI, we're going to send this over. And now we can go ahead, now that we're complete, we can go ahead and test this out. Go ahead and hit the test, and make sure, before we actually test this thing, I just want to do a transparency check real quick. All right. Now what we can do is that, now the Lamborghini itself has some errors in it, but it's the only actual working thing. All right, so let's load in. Whoa, fired that baby up. Go ahead and go through here. Alright, now you'll see that we get the UI, which is awesome. This button right here at the top is for exiting. My computer's rendering this really slow. And what we'll do is we'll try and go for block 1. Now, to go for block 1, we'll click block 1. My computer is really slow, guys. No, that's block 1. Now we can also say block 2, and it changes instantly. Now we can go back to block 1. I personally will just go for block 2, right? And then we can press this exit button. Computer's being very slow right now. And then we can drive around. And what we can do is we can go in and again, get the UI, and we can change it back. Sorry, my computer's having a heart attack. To block 1. I can't see my mouse. And then we can exit out once again. And then we should be good. No errors. And that's how you can do that. So that's basically how you do the car engine customization. You can change the engine block. You can do multiple of these. Now, keep in mind, these are all sample codes. Like, you wouldn't actually do this. You'd use a for loop. You'd say, for all the blocks inside of the model, just change it. For loops will be coming in nil-to-mil if I don't already have them, as well as how to make them disappear. Now, you're probably like, well, Rishraff, how do I just disable the engine block? You showed me how to change it. Well, what you're going to want to do is you want to go to the local script, and you would add in here. You know how it says script.parent? You wouldn't want to add something else. A lot of people would. What you would do is you would say if the part is already visible and they can't collide. So what you would do is, like, for reset, right? I put this later in the video. You'd say find first child, and then you would just reset everything. And this is what I mean. So up here's reset, and then this is how you would change it. So what we do right now is we reset all of the blocks to non-visible, and then the block that we want, we set it to visible. Then what you can do is you'd say, like, before you'd say, like, if you do, like, if the block, don't type this, but I'm just saying if the block, here, let me do it. If the block is already visible, then disable it. How you would disable it is just do this. Transparency equals 1, can collide equals false. And this is how you can disable the current block. So that way you don't have to always switch it. But keep in mind, you can always do, if you find this a little too complicated, all you can do is just create an additional block called, like, block 0, and then just make that invisible. I mean, that always works. I mean, you can copy my system and just make that invisible. That's practically the same thing. So guys, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys would like to help me prevent my computer from crashing, please make a purchase on Loaded Fitness or Limitless Gamer. The links will be in the description. Or if you'd like to make a donation, contact@rishraff.com is the way to go. Thank you guys so much, and hopefully we can work towards a new PC so we can churn out videos like 3 times a week. Thank you guys so much for watching, and peace!